Picture, if you will, an ordinary day. You might be scrolling through your phone, or perhaps you're standing by a window, taking in the world outside. Suddenly, a pang of worry or self-consciousness arises, and your instinct is to brush it off. But what if these uncomfortable sensations were actually signposts, quietly directing you toward a deeper truth about yourself? According to Carl Jung, the parts of ourselves we typically ignore or suppress, those self-doubts, those dark corners, could actually be the gateways to our most authentic purpose. Rather than mere stumbling blocks, these shadows might carry the seeds of our fullest potential, offering us a map for understanding who we are and why we're here. Carl Jung was a pioneer in depth psychology, and at the heart of his ideas lies the concept of the shadow. The shadow encompasses the qualities and desires within us that we reject or repress, whether because they feel socially unacceptable, conflicting, or frightening. Yet Jung believed that within this hidden storehouse dwells a trove of energy and insight. While we often perceive these buried traits as shameful or unworthy, they hold the keys to our creativity, emotional depth, and personal evolution. When you voluntarily explore this side of yourself, you initiate a profound process of self-discovery, and what you find may very well serve as the blueprint for a more purposeful life. It helps to think about Jung's notion of the shadow through a practical lens. Perhaps you've noticed that certain people or ideas trigger strong emotional responses in you. You see a peer who seems overly confident, and you bristle inwardly, dismissing them as arrogant. Or you meet someone who is intensely driven, and you find yourself rolling your eyes, labeling them as obsessive. In Jung's view, these knee-jerk reactions often reflect traits in ourselves that we have yet to accept. The reason we react so fiercely is because something is resonating with our own unacknowledged impulses, dreams, or fears. Jung posited that nothing about the shadow is inherently evil. Rather, it is the sum of what we have pushed away, sometimes for valid reasons, sometimes just out of habit or due to societal pressures. This can include qualities that might actually benefit us. For instance, assertiveness we've labeled as aggression, or a passion we've deemed unworthy. Consequently, facing the shadow doesn't merely involve grappling with personal darkness. It can also involve reclaiming hidden strengths that were cast aside long ago. Jung called the process of reconciling with and integrating the shadow individuation. This word refers to a journey toward wholeness, where you bring together all facets of your psyche rather than clinging only to the traits you find pleasant or acceptable. Contrary to common misconception, individuation is not about perfecting yourself in the moral sense. It's about taking inventory of all that you are, owning the full spectrum of your personality, and learning how to harmonize these aspects instead of waging war with them. Through individuation, you come into alignment with a self that is richer, more creative, and more resilient than the narrowly curated image you previously presented to the world. This process might start with small, everyday observations. You might jot down times you felt a flash of anger or jealousy and ask, what part of me is this feeling pointing to? What do I fear? Or what longing am I suppressing? Rather than pushing the question aside with shame, you begin to sit with the emotion, hoping to glean its core message. Jung believed this willingness to confront the unexplored corners of our psyche was crucial. When we do so, we reduce the likelihood of acting out those unintegrated parts in harmful ways, like lashing out at loved ones or sabotaging our own progress without understanding why. Think of your mind as a large house, many rooms of which remain locked because you decided long ago they were too messy or frightening to enter. Shadow work essentially involves turning on the lights in those forbidden corridors. Sometimes you discover they're not as terrifying as you suspected. Other times, you might find jumbled, murky material, a mixture of old wounds, unmet desires, and energies that long to be expressed. Regardless of what you find, each discovery brings you closer to living in a more unified, genuine way. This unity is not just personal. There are social and relational dimensions to consider. Jung pointed out that when we refuse to acknowledge certain traits in ourselves, we often project them onto others. This might happen in a romantic relationship, where you accuse your partner of being overly controlling while ignoring your own controlling tendencies. Or it could occur in a professional environment, where you criticize a colleague for seeking attention, even though some part of you craves recognition. By working with your shadow, you become more mindful of these projections. You catch yourself in the act and realize that what bothers you in another person could be a clue to what remains unresolved within you. Integrating the shadow also helps illuminate a major piece of the puzzle: finding a life purpose. People often spend years chasing external success or approval, only to feel hollow even when they achieve their goals. Jung's perspective suggests this could be because they haven't tapped into the hidden reserves of passion and creativity that lie beneath their everyday persona. When you recover those hidden drives, whether it's a latent artistic inclination, a knack for leadership, or an ability to empathize deeply, you often discover a calling that feels distinctly your own. The shadow, in other words, doesn't just hold negative impulses. It also conceals your unrecognized gifts. Jung gave the example of people who only identify with being nice or harmless. They might bury their capacity for righteous anger, never using it to stand up for themselves or for causes they believe in. Over time, this can lead to frustration or stagnation. By reconnecting with that fiery side, they might discover a warrior spirit that can be channeled into activism, mentorship, or transformative leadership. The shift can feel radical, as if you're finally stepping into shoes that fit. In practical terms, engaging with the shadow is often facilitated through techniques like journaling, dream analysis, or creative expression. By writing down your dreams, you invite your unconscious to speak its symbolic language, which may reveal repressed conflicts or aspirations. Drawing or painting can similarly bypass the inner critic and give direct expression to emotions and images you might struggle to articulate. Even day-to-day mindfulness, observing without judgment how you respond to life's stresses, can offer insights into the shadow at work. You might notice a pattern. You become irritated whenever someone gives you unsolicited advice. Rather than blaming them or trying to shrug it off, you pause to reflect. Is my shadow stepping forward, reminding me of a vulnerability around my competence? Do I fear looking unintelligent and thus lash out at any hint of critique? Such questions encourage you to face your illusions about yourself, forging an honest bond with your own psyche. This is where the real work of integration happens, in those quiet moments of realization about how your hidden world spills into everyday life. Part of what makes shadow work so intriguing is that it aligns with recurring motifs in mythology and storytelling. Countless hero tales describe a protagonist confronting the monster within, learning to harness what they feared or loathed. In many stories, that confrontation leads not to destruction of the beast, but to a blending of strengths, a metamorphosis. When we see Luke Skywalker battling the darkness within, or Harry Potter grappling with the traits he shares with Voldemort, we're witnessing the mythic representation of shadow integration. These narratives echo Jung's claim that grappling with our inner beast can mark the beginning of profound personal empowerment. This empowerment resonates beyond just the individual. Jung believed that each time a person embraces their shadow, they contribute to a more balanced collective consciousness. The unconscious biases and repressions that drive so much conflict in the world might lessen when more individuals learn to own their projections rather than inflicting them on others. On a broad scale, this can foster greater empathy and reduce scapegoating, as people recognize that the negativity they once directed outward often stems from an unacknowledged part of themselves. So, how does this tie back to life purpose? Through shadow integration, you gain a fuller sense of self. With that sense of wholeness comes a clarity about what energizes you. You discover that your frustration around inequality might inspire you to become an advocate or educator. Your envy of artists might prompt you to pick up a paintbrush or enroll in a writing workshop, revealing a passion you'd long dismissed. When you follow these clues rather than hiding from them, you create a life aligned not just with surface desires, but with your soul's deeper calling. In sum, Jung's theory of the shadow is far more than an abstract psychological concept. It's a key that unlocks hidden compartments within your personality, each brimming with the potential to guide you toward a destiny shaped by truth rather than fear. Initially, the process may challenge you to confront aspects of yourself you've long disowned. Yet by doing so, you reclaim precious vitality and authenticity. You begin living in a more integrated, deliberate manner, in touch with your full emotional repertoire, from the joyful to the unsettling. And in that fullness, you may well find the very purpose you once believed you had to search for outside yourself. By engaging your shadow, you embark on a journey akin to that of every mythic hero who ever stepped up to face an unknown adversary, only to realize the adversary resided within. And like all great journeys, it doesn't end in mere survival. It culminates in transformation, a deeper understanding of who you are and why your experiences matter. Through this transformation, you become more equipped to create, to inspire, and to reach out to others in a genuine way. The once suppressed qualities become your allies, guiding you to operate from a balanced, courageous place that can elevate not only your personal life, but the broader world around you.